Good morning. So for breakfast today, I'm going to be having oatmeal. I'm just bringing this to a boil. There it goes. I don't have oatmeal that often, but I go through phases where I eat it more often than not. Today, I was really kind of looking forward to these bananas. You'll see they're spotted, but they've got, I don't know if you can see that, still a little bit of green. So I'm going to wait another day. I'll eat these tomorrow. This one I picked out, I don't see a lot of green, maybe a little right there, but I'll slice it up and put it on my oats. And then I've got some frozen cherries over here from Costco, and those will just go on the hot oats when they're done, and they'll just kind of steam defrost. And this is a large palmful of flax seed, which I should be eating this every single day. I'm going to link a video below about the benefits of flaxseed from Dr. Michael Greger, and it's really a really wonderful food we should be incorporating into our diet every day. Good morning. Okay, so I'm back. I want to talk today about acid reflux and how I've done 3 videos. They're my most popular videos, so I thought it was time to do another one to go a little bit more in depth on this stuff. But the 3 videos I'll link below, and they're how I completely eliminated my acid reflux, my chronic belching, my indigestion, and it wasn't just with a plant-based diet. Just going vegan wasn't enough. There were other things that I had to do. So I've completely eliminated these symptoms. I burp occasionally, but other than that, I am just thrilled. And I did it without any medications. No alternative supplements, no tinctures, no oils, no nothing. So just watch those videos, and I'll talk a little bit about those methods in this video, but I want to get to the root of acid reflux, why we have it, so that we can understand what's happening at the root, instead of just addressing the effect or the symptoms of the condition. But first of all, I want to start by saying in 2010, the FDA came out with an official warning against proton pump inhibitors, which are a very, very popular pharmaceutical drug that is prescribed for acid reflux. And you may have heard of Nexium. That's an example. You may know somebody that takes that. It's very common. So they put out a warning against proton pump inhibitors, against the high dosages and excessive prolonged use of them are very dangerous for our health. And I made some notes here. Proton pump inhibitors in 2010, high doses, prolonged use, increased risk of infection, pneumonia, bone fractures, dementia, cancer, and other chronic diseases. So, when the FDA puts out a warning like this, it's because these things are real. And so I don't know about you, but I would rather find a natural way to rid myself of acid reflux, of GERD, gastric esophageal reflux disorder, as opposed to taking these harmful, dangerous drugs for the rest of my life. And oftentimes they don't work for people and they need higher doses, or they work for a while and then they stop working, so they need a higher dose. And I'm going to talk about why that is. So what is acid reflux? So when we take that proton pump inhibitor, what it's trying to do is inhibit the amount of acid, that's in the gut. Whether it's, I don't know if it's neutralizing it or inhibiting it or diminishing it or reducing it, but you get the idea. When you have acid reflux, that acid is coming up into the esophagus and it's burning and you can feel it. It's uncomfortable. So they say, well, let's reduce the acid. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. That seems like a good idea. But you have to stop and remember that that acid in your digestive tract, in your stomach, is there for a very important reason. We need it. We need lots of it. We need it to digest our food. It's very important. As long as it remains in the belly, in the stomach where it belongs, it's fine. It's not hurting anything. But once it gets up into the esophagus, and again, we know, besides those other risks from the FDA, before that warning came out, we've known for a long time that with acid reflux, you have a higher risk of Barrett's disease, you have a higher risk of esophageal cancer, and you have a higher risk of esophageal ulcers, which I'm sure are a lot of fun, bleeding of the esophagus. So we want to nip this in the bud, don't we? We want to take care of this and make sure that that acid's not getting up into the esophagus. So why does it get up into the esophagus? That's the first question we need to ask. And so I've talked about this in my other videos where the stomach meets the esophagus. There's a sphincter right there where they meet. It's a one-way valve. And when we vomit or burp, the air or the food, that one-way valve opens up and it lets that out, but otherwise it's a one-way valve. So the food goes in, but nothing's supposed to come out. The acid's supposed to remain down in the stomach. Okay, so with acid reflux, now here's where when you start to do your homework, there's not a lot of answers. They'll say right on the, you go into WebMD or Mayo Clinic or any of those sites, and they'll say right on there, and they're not really sure what causes acid reflux. And then they give a few, theories as to why. And I think they're really onto something with these theories, because really what it comes down to is if you imagine your stomach and your esophagus here and picture that little LES, that little lower esophageal sphincter where the two meet. If you imagine then your stomach, if you imagine pressure, any pressure that's coming up in from the sides, any pressure on your stomach, wouldn't that cause pressure on that lower esophageal valve? And I like to think of it as those little, arm bands that you wear, little kids wear when they go swimming. They have a one-way valve, and when you blow the air in, you have to squeeze that valve to let the air in, and then when you let go, it doesn't let the air out. So you're squeezing. So same thing with your stomach. I think that pressure can cause that valve to become compromised. And many, many people have hiatal hernia and don't even know it. And that's where there's so much pressure on that stomach that part of the stomach protrudes through the diaphragm. This is my diaphragm. So it's a layer of muscle that sits on top of the stomach, and then the esophagus comes through like that. So with the hiatal hernia, then the actual stomach comes through, and then, the esophagus, but it bulges through the diaphragm. And then that really compromises that lower esophageal sphincter, causes it to stretch and not completely close. And so then you have things like acid creeping up through there. You have chronic belching, you've got discomfort, indigestion, and so forth. You've got acid reflux or GERD. So what we really need to do is address this sphincter, don't we? And somehow figure out a way to close. So some of the theories on why this happens, why that sphincter is not closing all the way and keeping everything down where it belongs, are things that all cause pressure on the stomach. So overeating, being overweight, all those organs, got all that fat, extra fat, and so all your organs are like cramped and squished. Being pregnant. Most women experience heartburn when they're pregnant. Excessive coughing, excessive sneezing. So maybe if you're a smoker and you cough a lot, excessive sneezing, you've got allergies like I have my entire life. I have sneezed probably, I don't even think I'm exaggerating, maybe a million times in my life. I have sneezed a lot. Excessive vomiting. Excessive... So anything like that, where you think about when you sneeze, achoo, pressure, abdomens tighten up, they suck in, coughing, abdomen coughs and applies pressure. Same thing with vomiting. What else? I've got some notes here. I just made some notes. Constipation, when you bear down because you're constipated. Some people are constipated every single morning, or, maybe they only go, every week or whatever, but when they do, they have to really bear down, and it puts a lot of pressure on that stomach. A weakened diaphragm, so from shallow breathing or just getting older. So one of the they say who most commonly has acid reflux, and they say it's people over 50 and it's people who are obese. I'm looking at my notes. And so I'm neither of those, and I have a hiatal hernia and acid reflux. But so when you get older and you have, shallow breathing, you become more sedentary and so forth, that muscle can become weakened then, and that sphincter can just kind of relax. What else? It can be congenital. You can be born with a lower esophageal sphincter that's not working properly, and you can have a hiatal hernia when you're born. I've read cases on this. Heavy lifting, so when you're lifting something heavy, again, you're using all your abdominal muscles, squeezing and bearing down, can cause pressure on your stomach. So those are some of the theories on what causes this. But that doesn't help us on how to fix it. So how do we fix this weakened sphincter so that it does its job and keeps the acid down where it belongs. So I talk about these methods on these other videos I link below, but at the end of the day, I've tried a lot of things and I've had a lot of success with many methods, but what they almost all have in common, I think what they all have in common, all of the methods that worked for me, that gave me instant relief from my symptoms, what they all had in common was a relaxation of the stomach. So most of us, we've been trained from a young age to sit up straight, to pull in our tummy, and to keep it that way. And so we kind of train ourselves, whether we're in the shower, we're brushing our teeth, we're in the car, no matter what we're doing, to suck in that gut and to tighten it down. And so that puts constant pressure on your stomach. And so if you imagine the stomach, and here again, here's the diaphragm. If you've got pressure on that stomach, it's going to push up, and that can cause that hiatal hernia, and it can cause pressure on that sphincter. It pushes on that sphincter. And so if you think about something pushing on a valve, think about that one-way valve again on a little beach ball. If you put pressure on it, it's gonna open, and it only takes a little bit for it, a little bit of pressure for it to open, and then you've got that gas able to escape upwards. That's what gas wants to do, right? It wants to go up. So at the end of the day, that's what we need to do, is relax our gut. Relax our gut, let it go. And I know that goes against everything you've been taught. I have been doing this now for, I don't even know, the last 5 or so months since I kind of put it all together. And it works. It works. If I find myself I'll start burping, like I'll burp 2 or 3 times in a minute. I was like, oh, what's my stomach doing? And sure enough, it's clamped down. And stress, that's another thing. I think it was on the list that I missed. Just being stressful. When you're in a stressful situation, those muscles of your abdomen immediately clamp up. Pressure on the stomach. So when you start to have acid reflux and when you start to burp, have indigestion, try really just relaxing your gut. Take some breaths, and with every exhale, see if you can find any more tension in your stomach and just let that go. Just let it go, let it go, let it go. And I bet with each inhalation and each exhalation, you'll find more tension somewhere in there, and you'll be able to let that go. Okay? So, and then I have other tricks on these videos below. So check nutrient absorption. I just wanted to finish with this. Nutrient absorption. So when you take these proton pump inhibitors, and this is really, really important. I should have talked about this at the beginning of the video, so don't go away. The proton pump inhibitors, when they reduce that acid in your gut, you're taking away the acid that digests the food, which means your food isn't getting properly digested, which means you are not absorbing all of the nutrients that you could be. So even if you're eating a really, really healthy meal, let's say you're eating, plant-based, you're eating all, these wonderful, beautiful organic fruits and vegetables. If you're taking a proton pump inhibitor, that means you're not going to absorb those nutrients. So that's bad news. And let's say you're on a standard American diet, even worse. So you're not eating a lot of nutritious foods. And then even the little bit of nutrition that you're getting isn't going to be properly absorbed. And so that's why obviously they say it leads to higher risk of fractures. Your body's not absorbing the calcium that you're eating. Higher risk of cancer. Your body's not absorbing all of those wonderful cancer fighting nutrients you get from vegetables, because it's not absorbing those things. And all of these diseases, risk of infection, of course you're going to be at higher risk for all of these things because you're malnourished. That's all. You've eliminated the acid. You're not properly digesting your food. You're not absorbing as many minerals as you should be, which means you're not absorbing as many nutrients as you should be. So you're not getting your vitamins. You're not getting your minerals. You're not getting all these essential nutrients simply because they're going in, but they're being eliminated because of poor digestion. So you really, if you're on if you're on an antacid of any kind, you really want to take steps to get off of those medications. And I can't even really help you with that. You're going to want to find a doctor who can support you in getting off of these medications. Look at my videos. Obviously, you're going to want to go plant-based. When I went plant-based, the acid reflux almost completely went away within days of going plant-based. But the chronic belching continued and the indigestion. So going vegan wasn't enough. So these methods that I share, my I'll post all 3 videos below, but I think the one where I really stumbled onto the groundbreaking treatment was my video entitled something about chronic belching in the car, because that's where I realized that it really came down to just relaxing the gut. That's what helped me to overcome the chronic belching. There's a real connection there. Okay, so the oatmeal's done. So this was really easy, guys. I just put this in a pot, brought it to a boil, just the oats, and I added a handful of some dried fruits in there. That's not what that is. Those are frozen cherries. But I put the oats, the water, the dried fruit in there, brought it to a boil, put a lid on it, turned it down, set the timer for 10 minutes, and walked away. When the timer went off, I put a handful of these frozen cherries in there, and normally I would just put the lid on it and just kind of defrost those cherries. And then over here, I have a large palmful of the flaxseed oil, which, again, I'm going to link the benefits of flaxseed oil below. And then I'm going to put just a large palm of nuts and seeds and some more fruits in there. That's just kind of a trail mix I buy at Fred Meyer. And here is the finished product. So again, a nice large serving dish. I've topped this off with some banana and a little bit of non-dairy milk. And this is just, again, a super simple thing. You just put it on the stove, set your timer, walk away, and then you come back and breakfast is ready. It didn't take very long at all. And you don't even have to put a non-dairy milk in this. If I have it, I do. If I don't, it still tastes just as good. I don't know why I even bother. So it's really, really yummy. And, you know, if you don't have time to finish it at home, you can put it in a to-go container and maybe eat it when you get to work. Do what works for you. Do what works for you. All right, I'll be back for lunch. I may not be back. I'm going to be at the casino today, so I'll be eating their salad bar. I go there every couple of months for a work activity, which is really fun, but I usually get their salad bar, which is a limited salad bar with just, you know, lettuce and a few vegetables and toppings. So it's not enough to fill me up. So that's the reason I'm eating this morning. I wanted to have a nice, big, filling breakfast. So oats are a slow release carbohydrate, so you'll feel fuller longer, whereas you know, a smoothie, after drinking a smoothie, I'm usually pretty hungry by lunch and ready for a big lunch. So I'll eat this and I'll be pretty full, and the salad should satisfy me, but I might be quite hungry for dinner. All right. So I don't know if they allow cameras in the casino, so I will try to film my my lunch. We'll see what happens. So this will be my lunch today. A little limited, but I'll make it work. This is my salad, and you can tell that it's oily. I ended up there were just very few things to put on the lettuce. I put a lot of chickpeas, which are not my favorite, but they are they have a higher gram of carbohydrate in them. So I was looking for something filling and satisfying, slow release energy. So I did put some of this pasta on there as well. Not a whole lot. I did put a couple of spoonfuls though, and it was dripping. It's a pre-made, you know, deli pasta, and it's got all the oil on it, but it is vegan. And then I've got some cranberries as well for energy. And this was a large salad, and it did do a pretty good job filling me up. I have a bowl here on the left with some, you know, canned peaches and pineapple and more craisins, and that's not something I like to eat on a regular basis because it's filled with, you know, normally you can probably imagine there's a lot of high fructose corn syrup in that. I mean, I don't know for certain, but I would imagine that does have that in there. So again, it's not something I would eat that often. So, and then for dinner tonight, I was surprised I wasn't that hungry. So I just made, these are 3 medium-sized russet potatoes that I sliced up into French fries. These are what I call ranch herbs. So you've got parsley, dill, basil, garlic, and salt. And if I would have had some onion powder, I would have put that on there as well. And I did sprinkle a little bit of smoked paprika on there. Just a little bit though. I'm not a huge, it's a little goes a long way. So I guess that's it. This weekend, I'm looking forward to just relaxing. Zumba last night was really fun. My energy levels weren't up where I'd like them to be, but it was fun, and I'm still, you know, learning the moves. And so once I learn the moves, I think I'm going to enjoy it so much more. I really am enjoying it though. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching.